in today's video, I'm going to be talking about how to actually get a job in cybersecurity here. I know you might be thinking, I've seen this video before, but I'm going to come at it from a different angle. From a teacher who has had a number of students go off and get cybersecurity jobs immediately after they graduate. And I'm going to pair that with my professional network. I message my friends that are hiring managers and I ask them questions. How much do you care about certs? What's your opinion on home labs? And what is it that you're looking for? And hopefully this helps some people. All right, let's talk about security certifications. Now this is an important topic. It's on everybody's mind. It is an intimidating thing to think about. I encounter a lot of people that think about getting certs and where do I even start? It's overwhelming. What I've got on the screen here is another overwhelming thing. It's a list of a variety of security certifications, and they're all sort of gathered into their theme. So for example, at the top here, I've got communication and network security. Next to it, I've got identity access management. There are some certs that actually spill over into different areas. So if I look over at Security Plus, for example, that's a really good one to start with, by the way. It taps into asset security, taps into security and risk management, security and asset and testing, software security, and then in a little bit of security operations. So that's something to take into consideration when you are planning. And so take a look at CISSP. It covers all of the areas. When I look at this, I think it's overwhelming. Now imagine being a person that's just trying to get started in security. Where do we even begin? Let's tie that into this conversation about how important are security certifications in getting a security job. Here's my opinion. They are important, but they aren't the piece. They are not the be all and end all for getting a cybersecurity job. They can help you get your foot in. There are some that are very popular, like OSCP. That's very popular, and that will probably help you get to a different level, or might help you get a foot in the door. All right, so we've talked a little bit about certs, and now we're going to talk about the next important thing is home labs. Even the thought of making a home lab can be pretty overwhelming for some people, but they are really important. And I would say that getting your first cybersecurity job, think about having a home lab, because that's something that you will probably be asked about in an interview. The question that I hear that comes from prospective employers is this: can you tell me about your home lab? It's a good question because it is loaded. It will tell the employer a number of things about you as the potential cybersecurity employee. What are you doing in your spare time? Do you care enough about this content to study it and to research and to take your own time to build an environment so that you can learn? But imagine you have certs, but you've never done anything in a home lab environment. You've never done any practical things. You have nothing to talk about. Okay, so you have to balance these two. Here's a secret: is that home lab doesn't have to be expensive, and it doesn't have to be crazy. You don't need to have a whole server rack. Okay, we can have a very simple home lab environment. For example, I'll show you a little bit about my home lab that I'm fleshing out to practice. I've got VirtualBox. It was free. I can throw on any virtual machine that I want to practice with. I've got a Windows machine here that I do practicing. This one is an Eternal Blue, so that one's pretty easy to break into. But then I've got my Kali, and I've got a bunch of other various machines that ones I've made, some that I've downloaded from VulnHub that I want to practice doing offensive security on. And then I configure those all in variety of environments. So, for example, if I want to practice setting up virtual firewalls, I will set up a pfSense machine, and it works beautifully. I can put any machine inside that local area network and have it go through the pfSense network. I can practice intrusion detection, intrusion prevention, proper firewall best practices, and then a variety of packages that come with pfSense. It's awesome. And in my home environment, I've got a a machine set up, and it's not fancy, and I'll show you a picture of it in a minute. And it's not cool looking, but it does the job. It's an Ubuntu machine. It's got SSH running. It's got an FTP running, and while that doesn't sound cool, and I can hear it as I say it, but I can practice proper configurations of an SSH server. I can practice proper configurations of a FTPS server. How do those things relate? How do they relate in my environment here? These are all things that I could talk about if I were to go for a cybersecurity interview. Tell me about your lab environment. Well, I'll say, I'm glad you asked. I've got SSH server, I've got FTP server. I run things on a pfSense network and in a virtualized environment on my laptop. And then I have a virtualized environment in my desktop server. And then I've got this other project that I'm dreaming of working on. And then you talk about that. And it's that act of being excited about the content that really resonates with employers. Wow, that person really cares about how they spend their time. They really are excited about cybersecurity. I've talked with a number of recent graduates, and they come to me and they say, I don't have the certs. How am I going to get the job? And I say, it doesn't matter. As long as you have a plan for what you want to get as a cert, that resonates with employers. As long as you've got something to talk about for a home lab, that really resonates with employers. Okay, so I am well aware that this is not a super exciting lab setup. I'm not going to show you my desk because it's super messy, but I'll show you where I do my work. Okay, so it's so simple. I've got a very basic network switch that's connected to my main network, and I've got a desktop that is running an Ubuntu server. And it's not complicated. I actually put this machine together from scraps, from memory that I was able to harvest from old computers. The hard drives are from old computers, and I've jerry-rigged it into a machine that functions and does the job that I need it to do. Another thing that I do is I like to collect old network hardware. So I've got a variety of routers with their boxes, and I enjoy practicing doing network hacks and various exploits for some of this old equipment. And this is part of my lab. When somebody interviews me and they say, what do you do in your spare time, Andrew? And I say, well, I enjoy practicing offensive security on old network hardware. That's my opinion on how to actually get a job in cybersecurity. Certs, they have some value. Home lab, though, you really need to make one of those so that you can actually practice various security techniques and have something to talk about and be excited about and demonstrate that excitement to the prospective employer. Awesome. Hey, if you're enjoying these videos, I've got a couple other on the screen here that I think you're going to enjoy. And thanks for watching. I really appreciate it. All right. Talk to you soon. Bye.